Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Sugar Dawn. How are you today?
It's fine, thank you.
That's good. That's good. So let's go back to when and where you were born.
San Francisco.
Okay. And you were born Mervelyn Sugar Steinberg?
Correct.
Yes.
Steinberg. Yes. Merlin's a combination of my father's name Mervyn and my mother's name Evelyn. Put them
Okay.
together and came up with Mervelyn.
I see.
But the name Sugar came from the doctor that brought me into the world. Used to go with my mother before she married my father.
I see.
His name was Dr. Bone. When he brought me in to her, she started to cry, and he said, "Ev, dear, she's not glass, she won't break. She's not butter, she won't melt. She's sugar because she's sweet." That's how I got the name.
Yeah, sure. And what was some of your childhood memories before the movie started?
Okay, my memories were that my father, who loved animals,
Mm-hmm.
who lived in San Francisco, and as I'm looking through some of the things that I have here, I don't have my scrapbooks here with me,
I see.
but I had a little bit of research, and I started, believe it or not, on a jackass, or a mule, you want to call him, in Golden Park. And my father, I see a picture of me in my little pink outfit, my little hat, and that's where we went on the weekend. And I rode this donkey.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing, what I'm looking at, my past, is my father wanted to move down the peninsula about 30 miles away from San Francisco and have a horse, and of course have a pony for me.
Okay.
So I can't put it together at this point, but I ended up meeting a gentleman who lived on a big estate, took care of the barns and the carriage house, called the Old Flood Estate, very famous place in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And he had an old Shetland pony by the name of Tommy Tucker, which I rode, and that's where I learned to ride. And actually, Tommy and I, when I was age 5, led the first. He was on the track, the first race out at Bay Meadows when it opened. So,
nice.
In 1934. And I'm looking at one of the pictures right now, believe it or not. I'm on the track, and I'm holding on to the horn.
Now, my question for you was, those were ponies. They weren't miniature horses, were they?
No, they were Shetlands.
They were Shetlands. Okay, yes, because that movie I was watching this afternoon, it looked like a pony, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it was a pony.
I see.
So what that led me to is my father got his horse.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Beakley was his name, and he bought me Chiquita.
Okay.
So I started to do tricks with her in the backyard. So in those days, they had what they called pet parade once a year, and everybody brought their bicycle out or their pet out, and of course, naturally, I went because I had the pony.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing so many of them, and then something called Stranger Than Fiction did something, wrote something or something about it. I haven't figured that out yet. It goes way back, got a hold of me, and the next thing I know, I was competing in horse shows.
Yes.
And locally, this is all locally. I think probably one of my first ones was Gilroy. Gilroy, I see a picture of that.
Yes.
And then we started to do tricks, and I got to special exhibitions with the pony. And from that, I was led to appear in the Rose Parade.
Okay, yes, Pasadena.
Right, and I had already been working on roping, okay?
Yes.
In those, and so I did a lot of my rope tricks with the pony in the Rose Parade. And I guess I want to say probably from the best I can figure out is that because actually we were pretty good, the pony and I could see me on the seesaw, and she loved to rear up. I knew that. She would do that on cue. That's when got the invitation. I'd already done a benefit with Gene Autry.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh, yes, I did that. There's no date on it, of course. I see we're backstage here. And so from the best I can figure out, I was asked to do this benefit down south, Bring the Pony. She was going to be on stage. I stayed the program. It was Mickey Rooney, Judy Garland, Gene Autry, and God, I can't think of all the names. I don't have the program. Is in one of my scrapbooks, but there were many stars.
Yes.
And so that led me to Joe Pasternak, who was a producer-director in L.A., and Deanna Durbin was just going out of the movies, and so was Jane Withers at that time.
Oh, yes.
And he wrote a part for me in Death Rides Again.
Okay.
So I brought the pony and the horse down and stabled it at McLaughlin. I can't think of his first name. He was like a second star. And I was riding one day, I can't tell you where, but I was riding with a couple of famous people.
Yes.
And I fell off, the pony bucked me off, which she loved to do.
Yes.
And I ended up with poison ivy. And of course, she managed to, in my younger riding days, buck me off, broke my nose, broke my arm while my arm was still in a cast. I fell off again and broke it in a second spot. Okay, so she was that smart, and from there, Treasure Island was opening up in 1938 and 1939, and I was asked come up and perform.
Okay.
Backtrack, my father was the first to be in neon sign business in San Francisco.
Yes.
So he came up with this idea. Billy Rose had the girls in the swimming pool. Esther Williams, I see, was there.
Oh, yes, Esther, yes.
So, to make a long story short, he came up with the idea, because the Clydesdales were going to be in the big arena, so he came up with the idea that put me and the pony in one of the big closed wagons, turn off all they drop the back at the tailgate, and I would come out, and I would be in what they called black light in those days. And so my saddle and what I was wearing and my hat and everything all lit up. And of course he did Billy Rose's girls in the Aquacade, their hats and their bathing suits lit up. So that was quite a big event. And by the way, Gypsy Rose Lee was there too.
Yes.
Yeah, she was there. So anyway, I'm thinking those were the events, and the big ride up here. I was on some stairs, the big stairs at Treasure Island.
I see.
Those were the events that led me, that the movies kind of picked up on me. And of course, it was Monogram.
Yes.
And so that's how I'll take it back. I think I already did it was on set that I did the reading of my script with Clark Gable, with Gone with the Wind. Now, they dyed my hair. Put in context, the pony was on location, on set, okay, and I do remember that they were getting ready and they were working with the fire scene, okay?
Oh, yes.
I do remember that was very exciting. Okay, so I lost the part due to the fact that a southern governor decided that he wouldn't let the movie be in his state, go on to make location. Okay.
Yes, location.
Because he wanted his granddaughter to have the part, and at that time I was asked to double for her, and I don't know whether I'm assuming it was my father.
Yes.
No, she won't double, so I didn't. And that's what kind of started me on the movies, the Western movies, because at that time that was barely, the cowboys. They were
big back then. Yes.
Yeah, there were a lot of them, a lot of heavies. I remember a lot of them. I recognize the two when I'm looking at the movies, and they all had their own horses. Yes. And they all did tricks. So and the comedians.
Yes.
And of course that's how it all started. That's how I ended up doing the movies.
Now, one that you starred with was Tex Ritter. What do you remember about Tex?
What do I remember about Tex?
Yes, Tex Ritter.
Okay, Tex Ritter. Okay, he was a handsome man.
Yes.
He had a beautiful horse. I can't think of the name of the horse. I have it someplace in my files.
Yes, I do too, but I can't remember what its name was. Yes.
I could probably have my daughter look it up, but it's unimportant. He knew how to ride, and what I remember about him is that he wrote a song for me.
Oh.
It's in the. I'm sure I couldn't I haven't found Pals of the Silver Sage yet on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yes, he did write a song for me. And of course that led to doing benefits. Okay, so that's where I ended up benefits in Los Angeles. And then of course, Tex Ritter and Tom Keene, those were my two stars.
Keene, yes.
So I want to say that we made movies in Prescott, Arizona.
Yes.
Made Dijon Ranch down by Coahoma, whatever the name is, down by Bakersfield. And you have to realize that this was fun. It was make-believe, right? The good guys, the bad guys, okay?
Yes.
And I was kind of a novelty. I loved the comics. I remember Slim very well. I see Frank, and I go, oh, God, yes, I remember Frank. So it was just all, as far as I'm concerned, like chasing the Indians.
How was school done back in those days?
Well, I was very lucky because I got to go to Catholic school from the 1st grade to the 8th grade where I rode my pony. Okay. And then when I couldn't ride her anymore, I rode my father's big horse. And actually, I had tutors, and the only thing that I know they didn't teach me was how to spell, okay, in those days, because of course, obviously, they were on set. I don't think I got a really good education from them. I don't even remember, but I know all I can say to you is it was all just fun to do. Yes.
And sometimes that's better than the classroom, I find.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. So, of course, it led me on, as far as I'm concerned, it led me on to, and it was my father's idea, that because of, in those days, the big Shriners Hospital in San Francisco, and the East went a number of years to leave the cowboys out, the Western, the gentlemen that were on horses, start the game off, and my father came up with the idea to put rubber shoes on my pony, disinfect her in the basement, and I took her up into the hospital. I have pictures here showing, I was in the iron lung ward. I don't remember that, but I took her, visited all the rooms. My father took one of my buggies that I used to use when I showed, turned it in so you could lay a child down flat and take them out in the big yard and do our trick and give rides. And then, of course, it was ice creams and hot dogs and clowns and music and all sorts of things. So that went on for, a number of years in my life. I actually did that even when I couldn't ride the pony, when I got too big to ride the pony.
Yes.
So I guess from there, I'm just kind of looking at this one book. I will say one thing about Tex. He loved his guitar.
Yes, of course.
He used to play it all the time. And of course, in those days, we didn't get to do takes 2 or 3 times. It was just really 1 or 2 takes, okay?
I see, yes.
That's all it was.
Yes.
You didn't have time to really rehearse it. You had to do it. Oh, here I see. Gone with the Wind, I just found it. I did was Bonnie and Red. I did it March the 25th, 1939. It's on the script.
Oh, yeah.
I just found it.
Wow, yeah.
But as I said, I almost had the part. So the other thing that I almost had was I almost had Nashville Velvet.
Of course, with Elizabeth Taylor, yes.
Right. Elizabeth got the part. I did ride Pi a number of times. I forget where Pi was stabled.
Oh, yeah.
I did exercise Pi, but by that time, when I was asked to double, I said no, I'm not doubling. And of course, you have to remember, in those days, I traveled with a Japanese sub to raise money for the war effort, okay?
Yes.
And I had a fan club of about 15,000 kids, okay? And to get in to see my movie, you had to buy a war stamp, okay?
Okay.
So I went from there to doing special exhibitions because Hollywood still kind of into the horses. In those days, special exhibitions. Wasn't mine. I rode a blind mare, and we did jump. That led me to, I'm in high school now. I've got to do. I was still I had a radio program. It was a pet show where you brought your pet and talked about your pet.
Yes.
And then of course, the most important thing in high school was going to the dances. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think probably at that time I was kind of worn out of all
Mm-hmm.
paths, and I really decided that I liked boys when
Yeah.
I went to college. That's kind of when I gave up my first career.
Your first career, yes, yes. So many call the 40s and 50s era in Hollywood the golden age. What was it really like?
Well, all I can remember is that you had to have somebody that was going to promote you. And the westerns, there weren't very many. Jane Withers was the only one that rode, so I didn't really have any competition in those days. And until the westerns lost their popularity, and of course it had to do with the war changing everything around. So it was all benefits as far as I can see. And let's see, I did benefits. I did. Went to some of the hospitals when Bob Hope was touring. So, but of course his entourage, can't say the word, sorry, went to the pretty beautiful ladies.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't that popular being a kid, okay, with my pony.
Yeah.
So I do remember that.
Nice.
So I've had a wonderful life.
Yes.
I've been very lucky. My first husband and I, he was in the carnival business, and we were on the first railroad show in in California.
Yes.
We had rides. He was the general manager. Had the first Cinema 180, which came from Disneyland. That we took it out on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and we had one daughter.
Okay.
And after I gave up being on the carnival lot, which was another exciting place to be because of the racetrack and everything that, at the fairs and everything. I actually met my husband at the San Mateo County Fair when I was livestock secretary there.
I see, yeah.
So I had the largest 4-H club in California.
Amazing, yes.
And I was instrumental in exchanging guide dogs with England.
Oh, yes.
So I raised money for the 4-H and the kids. The county gave us a big piece of property, and families couldn't afford to buy an animal. I raised money for them. So we had all sorts of animals on the farm, and of course went to the fair. So I was involved in that. It took a lot of preparation to do that and be involved with the 4-H.
Yes.
So anyway, from that, I guess I want to say I went into the banking business.
Okay.
And and then I was very, very lucky in when I lost my husband. I met my husband, who I'm with right now, on a trek in the bottom of Argentina.
Oh, yes.
With mutual friends. So I can honestly say that I think I really had a charmed life. I think I've been an entertainer in many ways.
Yes, you sure have. You sound it, yeah.
And, I was very lucky. I learned Monty Montana. Do you remember him?
Yes, I do. A little bit, yes.
Okay. So he was trying to teach. He was the one that taught me how to spin a rope.
Okay, yes.
And he also was trying to teach me how to trick ride.
Okay.
I gave it up because I couldn't, and I was trying to do the trick riding off the pony, of course, and to go under her belly while she was moving. It didn't work for me, because I was too close to the ground, so I gave that up. So that's when he taught me how to spin the big rope, and so I could do my rope trick on top of the pony, either stand up or in the saddle, either way.
I see.
So, so I was lucky. I was at Leo Carilla's ranch. I can't remember what else I was being taught how to do, but everybody, even the heavies, everybody taught me how to fall off a horse. Okay, I knew how to fall off the pony, fall off a horse.
I see. Yeah.
I learned how to do that. Anyway, I've had a charmed life. That's all I can say.
Well,
and the other thing that I'll share with you is once in a while I get a fan letter. with pictures.
Yes.
At the time, respond to them in my own handwriting. I answer their questions, tell them a little bit about, most of them tell me what they're interested in, so I respond.
Mm-hmm.
And 2010 and 2011, we've invited to go to Western fairs in North Carolina. I was, at that time, tail end of the female Western writers. So that was wonderful. They had most of them that were there have all passed away.
Yes, unfortunately.
They're all gone. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but that was 4 or 5 days. So I did a lot of prep work for that, and I brought some of my scrapbooks with me
I see.
to show, and they showed my movies.
Yes.
So that kind of had to refresh my memory.
Okay.
And I got to watch my movies again.
That's exactly. What are your thoughts when you see yourself that young on the movie?
Actually, what I get the most kick out of is, when you're on set and you're getting ready to do a scene, I remember the board,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember the board, making its clapping sound.
Mm-hmm.
Action, ready, action, and then the board would, and that was the cue for my pony to rear up. So
Yes.
I had to be prepared all the time that she wasn't going to throw me off. So it was like, okay, so the scene is, okay, so the heavy, I've got to go find the sheriff. And so
Mhm.
the pony and I are just riding off into the sunset as fast as we can to get the sheriff and things like that. So it was just fun. That's all it was. That's all I could say. I never thought about it as
work.
being hard work
I see.
or any hard work. I always hoped that I wouldn't fall off.
I
So
see.
in my younger days.
In,
Go ahead.
in closing, if you were remembered for one thing, whether it be your movies or your work with the animals or what have you, what would it be? How would you like to be remembered?
I think I'd like to be remembered for my war effort.
Your war effort.
And
Yes.
for my war effort, because I raised thousands of dollars, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to have been part of that part of history,
Yes.
which most people didn't have the opportunity to do. And the other thing was my time that I spent with the 4-H,
I
with
see.
being the head leader
Mhm.
for so many years.
Okay.
So, and my guide.
Well, I want to thank you for a wonderful conversation, Sugar Dawn, and it's been a true honor to be talking to you today.
Johnny, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this. I just want to say hello to all my friends out there. And this is Rush, but thank you very much, Johnny. I'm sorry I don't live close to you. I'd love to meet you. Okay.
Yes. God bless you, and you have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.